Hello, guys. I am Ethan Woodworth. I am back again with the Stoic Sapling podcast. This is going to be, I think, episode 7, and I'm going to title this one 13 Life Commandments. I've just been sitting here, and this is like my fourth take, as I've just kind of been doing the same perfectionist thing where I'm sitting here and I'm not liking the take, and I say something stupid, and I go back and reshoot it. But this is the fourth take. The fourth one's going to be the lucky one because I am not doing that again. This is the final take because I'm sick of it. And let's get into it. 13 Life Commandments. So where this came from, it is actually from my journal and a book that inspired me. So right here I have my journal opened for those that can see on YouTube to April 3rd of 2021. And in here it says 13 personal commandments. And I wrote out 13 of these personal commandments with a sentence by each. And I've been looking back on these probably every, I don't want to lie here, 3 months. So it's been, 6 months since April. So I've looked back on it, 2-3 times. And it's cool to see, like you can just say, hey, have I been being frugal? Have I been being sincere? And I can just look at these and kind of assess myself. And that's how I've been doing it, is from these commandments. And how I've wrote these 13 was based off a book. And this book I have here on my desk as well. It's actually the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. That name should ring a bell if you have taken any sort of history class. I'm not some history buff. I cannot give you the complete rundown on Ben Franklin. He was a founding father, I think. I hope I did not botch that. He's a founding father, very important American historical figure, and a great mind, for sure. I read this around April, and obviously that's how this personal commandment list was built. And I love this book. It's his autobiography, so these are his words, how his mind ticked. And if I also know American history, I know Benjamin Franklin was a very, very smart man. And seeing his thoughts on paper, seeing how he thought and his ideas and just what kept him up at night is super, super interesting. So I know I'm going to give a book suggestion at the very end of this podcast that's different from this one. But I would for sure suggest Mr. Benjamin Franklin's autobiography because Mans knew some things about life. And so I would read into that. And that's what inspired this list. So I took Benjamin's list of 13 and I think I took out like 3 of his commandments, which they're all one word commandments, and then there's a sentence that follows. So I took out 3 of those, added my own, and then I rewrote some of his that just was kind of some 1800s-ish lingo that I didn't really like. So I kind of reworded some of them, added my own spice in there, and that's how I formed these 13, which is going to be the outline of this video. I'm going to outline all 13 of these, kind of how I practice it in my life, and maybe a story that goes along with each of them. So I hope I'm not like a copier. I hope Benjamin Franklin's not staring down on me and just saying like, hey, man, you can't use those. Those are my words. I don't really care, Benjamin. Yeah, they're my works now. So, yeah, I don't know if I can call these my commandments, but my commandments inspired by Benjamin Franklin. First one here we're going to go with is silence. And that's the first word, is silence. And it is defined here, these are Benjamin's words, speak not but what may benefit others or yourself. After thinking on these, I think this one is probably the hardest one for me personally. It is tough to not speak. You're inclined, you're taught to be vocal. And as you're younger, like it was kind of frowned upon when you're in elementary school to be the one that's super shy. And the teacher would always be like trying to pick up the person that's not talking. If I remember correctly, most of these people were girls. And I would say most of them were just young girls that just kind of were quiet. And the teacher would always try to get them to speak up. We'd get in group assignments, but they still really wouldn't speak. And it was the younger guys that would just be the vocal ones. I was always one of the vocal ones. I wasn't afraid to talk. I'm still not afraid to talk. And sometimes that bites me in the ass because I talk a bit too much. But back then, my teachers, we connected, I wouldn't say well because they didn't like me most of the time, but they got to know me better because I would just always have my mouth running, and they got to know me a bit too much probably. So I guess fast forwarding to my life now, it's a lot of my favorite people I know are silent. And when we're in groups, they don't need to be the loudest ones. They don't need to be speaking the most. And that doesn't mean they're better than anybody because they're quiet. It's just I know, and people know, that they're listening. That's what they're doing. And they're really taking in the words of someone else. And I think that is just extremely hard to practice. And usually these people, the same people, the words that come out of their mouths are positive and non-critical. And to me, that's the most impressive because, they're just so calculated that their words are true and their words are good. They bring people up. And that's kind of what I try to work on when I look at this silence thing is, I get prone to negativity sometimes. And I would say this negativity stems from when I get tired, I'm a little pissed off. I'm more likely to, call someone a name and criticize because I'm not engaged. A better route to this would maybe be, if I'm in that mood, staying quiet and staying engaged with the person or persons I'm talking with, and take their words and then think through my responses slowly, methodically. Don't just spit out some bullshit that I know isn't true. I know it's not an authentic response. Think things through. Silence is okay. You don't need to be gibbering and talking super fast, super loud to get your point across. You're gonna get it across better when you take your time. Use your silence, man. Articulate and think, and that'll allow you to formulate a response. So silence is okay. And I think this silence one is especially useful in heated discussions. There are so many times I get into like an animated or heated discussion over whatever topic. And that's when, my viewers know. You start thinking quick, you start talking quick, you're trying to just like get them back, You're trying to give them that response that just puts them down. You're trying to win that argument. And you're just thinking quick. You're like, oh, I gotta respond. And you just say something that's maybe out of line, out of pocket. And it's not what you meant. It's not how you meant it. It's not what you wanted to express. And that's because you're not using that silence. You're not thinking things through. You got to use that silence. And that's where you can really be a better person, is in those moments when you feel yourself getting on too quick. You feel yourself just speaking too fast. That's when you have to take a step back. And you have to say, okay, I know that this conversation is heading in this direction. I know that these people are taking this conversation in this direction, but no, not me. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to think things through, and I'm going to use silence to my advantage. And this one has been the toughest for me, because I think specifically like arguments or discussions, because I'm prone to just like throwing things all out and just playing all my cards and ripping on somebody. And sometimes I'm right. I know I'm right. There's no way you can think like that. Are you kidding me? That's the stupidest flipping thing I've ever heard. And that's where this silence comes in. And it takes a lot of time. I'm still trying to inspire that silence on a day-to-day conversation basis, because it is so pivotal for me to enhance myself and be better in that way, because conversations have got out of hand because of my non-willingness to be silent. So yeah, first one, silence. Second one, order. The word order. It says here, let all things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. This one goes back to last episode on my podcast, and I talked all about productivity. And I pretty much stated how you got to find the harmony in your life and give every part of your life a proper time, because there's a proper place for each part of your life. And that's kind of how what I said I was struggling with, was finding that balance between free time and productivity. But obviously I outlined all the steps towards how I cultivate productivity. And I think this order quote, or commandment, I should say, comes from like the same gist. It's kind of saying give every part of your life its proper time, and don't over allocate time in this part of your life when it should be going here. Have that balance. So I'm going to keep this one short and say, if you want to know more about order and more about productivity, go back to my last podcast. Number 3. This one is resolution. And this one's my favorite, my personal favorite. I don't think it's the most beneficial commandment on this list. Like, if you do it, actually, I don't know. Who's debating them? That's the thing. No one is. But it says here, resolution. Resolve to perform what you ought. Perform without fail what you resolve. And this one's straight from Benjamin. I didn't change it at all. And this one's just pretty much saying, do what you believe you can do. And I just think that's always the most powerful thing, because it's just like it's a dreamer's world, and we're all just living in it. And it's just, I'm not going to elaborate on this one much either, because it's just like follow the needed steps, and you will eventually be where you desire yourself to be. So that's where setting the steps comes in, setting the goals come in, and you can do it. You know, if you resolve to perform that one thing, go do it, you know, without fail. And you're going to fail along the way, obviously, but once you connect the two ends, start, end, you didn't fail at all. You completed it, you did it, and you hit that resolution. So that's number 3. Number 4 is frugality. And I think this one is the toughest one for me to preach. It says here, make no expense but to do good to others or yourself. Waste nothing. And I think this one's tough for me to preach, because in the modern world, I think frugality kind of goes back to money. And being frugal with your money, you're obviously like spending it wisely, not doing stupid things with it, you know, maybe get your investments up, not spending it all on booze and cigarettes. That's what a frugal person would do. And I think this one's tough for me to preach, because I've never had to manage my money in an adult way. I haven't even had a serious job. I've literally bussed tables and hosted at Stone Creek for 2 months, and I was sick of it and quit. So I do not know at all what it means to actually get a paycheck, and secondly, spend that paycheck in a frugal way. I do know, with my limited knowledge of financials, that frugality, this is no one else's responsibility but yours. It's your money. If you're going to, once again, spend it on alcohol and cigarettes, no one's stopping you. It's a free world. But you can inspire that frugality. You can take the proper steps, put your money in the proper places, and do the right things to be a frugal person. I guess I do have a little experience with attempting to be frugal, as I've kind of been good at saving my money. My sister and I always get Christmas money or birthday money, and I get mine and I just put it away. And my parents and my sister always ask me, you know, what are you gonna buy? You know, what's next? What awesome toy, clothes? What are you gonna buy? And I just sit there and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And my sister's the opposite way. You know, she gets the money And before it even touches her hand, she's on the computer looking at whatever website chicks buy clothes at. And I guess that doesn't mean like I'm a more frugal person, but I guess it just kind of does hint at, what we like and how we spend our money. And I just really don't see materialistic and clothing items bringing me that joy. It really just doesn't get the smile on my face. So I guess that hints at some frugality in my life, but not that much. What hints at a bit more frugality that I'm going to be implementing in my life is this summer. I'm going to live out of my truck. In the not middle of nowhere, but in pretty much the middle of nowhere. And I think that's obviously a frugal act, because you're not really wasting anything. You're just, I'm going to be eating all my food. I'm going to be living in a 6x6 box pretty much. And I guess it's a small way to live, and it's a small footprint I'll be leaving on this earth. And I guess that's a pretty frugal way to live. So that'll be my first real experience being a frugal person. And that I can't speak on this one that much because I'm not an adult. But yeah, frugality. That was number 4. Number 5, this is industry. Lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off unnecessary actions. Now, this one may sound very similar to order. And order was managing your time correctly. I kind of said it was like my last podcast. Although I see this one as more of a priorities thing. Get your priorities straight. Be always employed in something useful are the key words there. And I wrote here that you can be a beast time manager, but that does not mean that your time is getting spent in a productive way or that your priorities are straight. You can wake up at 9 o'clock and you can go get your unhealthy McDonald's breakfast. Get 2 cheeseburgers and fries for breakfast. Then you can come home for a 2-hour binge TV session. Then you can go off to someone's day party for 3 hours. Then you can wrap this up in the night by calling your ex-girlfriend for 3 hours. That's a full day. That's pretty productive. You were doing something at all times. Except I would say that none of those actions were very beneficial on a one-to-one level. Like on a personal level, those didn't really, get you as a better person. They just kind of flatlined you, or maybe even declined you. Those McDonald's cheeseburgers will get you. But who am I to say, though? Maybe that is productive for you. Maybe that lifestyle gives you complete joy. But my point is that you may be allocating your time very efficiently, but just on really, really stupid shit. So industry, get employed in something useful. And this would come by finding something that brings you complete and absolute joy, and it makes you smarter, and it makes you a better friend, it makes you a better family member, it makes you a better person overall. Cut off the unnecessary actions. So there's number 5, that is industry. Number 6, this is sincerity. Use no hurtful deceit. Think innocently and justly. And if you speak accordingly. Again, this is similar to one we already spoke about, which was silence. But to me, what stuck out to me about sincerity was the words, think innocently and justly. That differentiates it from silence to me. When I start to think innocently, I always begin to see the positive characteristics in all the people around me. Thinking innocently to me is kind of like tapping into like the state of a 5-year-old. And the 5-year-old always just sees the good in the world. They're so naive to, the negative aspects, the drawbacks, the killers, the criminals, and And thinking in that way is obviously that's a terrible way to think, because then you're not prepared for the evil things that come your way. But to see both sides, but then to tap into that innocent side allows you to have a lot of gratitude for the things and people around you. There is always a similar connection to you and someone else. And I always try to find this similar connection when talking to strangers. Like finding that one thing that you guys can talk about, you can bond about. There's got to be one thing. You guys have to be in some sort of community. You have to be into some sort of TV show or movie you like. You have to enjoy the same song, at least one song out there. You guys just have to enjoy together. And kind of finding those similarities by thinking innocently, by thinking like that 5-year-old, you can really come across and be a sincere person, because you are just thinking innocently. You are just seeing the light and the positive nature in all those around you. So I would just try, and I'm still trying to try, I'm always trying to tap into those moments of complete gratitude and overall become a sincere person, come across as authentic. Also, what I wrote here is sincerity is a precursor to silence. And I guess what I mean by that is, if you aren't sincere and you aren't authentic in your interactions, then you cannot use that silent step. If you skip the sincerity step and you're just silent, you're going to be internally super resentful and arrogant and pissed off at the people around you. You have to inspire that gratitude in order to think slowly, in order to calculate your thoughts and wait your turn to speak, because you realize obviously it's not all about you, and you'll use your listening skills when you're sincere, and then obviously that will lead to being silent and knowing when it's your time to speak, knowing how to listen. All right, next one here. This one is going to be justice. And it says here, I wrote this one myself. Stick to your moral and ethical code, but allow changes and modifications to this code when deemed necessary. And to me, this just pretty much says, allow your thoughts and allow your beliefs to change as you develop as a person. But when you believe in something and you have your convictions, follow those. Don't let someone else tell you otherwise. If you believe that said person is a good person and you're their friend and you will always stick up for them, don't let other people tell you that this person is a complete fool and that you shouldn't be friends with him. No, you should listen, yeah, but that doesn't mean you just turn your back on this friend and you shut him out of your life. No, not at all. And that's where you can stick to that moral and ethical code. You can navigate with that code and you can use it throughout your life. And obviously, if it fails, if something goes wrong, if this code is tested and you think you're like, I don't know if I should follow this, I don't know if this is wise, good. That's when you can make modifications, you can scrap it, and you can do something else. Allow this natural modification. And if you have tested this over and over again, this moral and ethical code, don't change it. There's no need. It's been working for you. You feel like a good person. People are all happy around you. You're not putting others down. Okay, keep it. You're doing the right thing. So justice, that was, I think, number 8, 7, not sure. Okay. Next one is moderation. Avoid extremes. Balance your life in the variable inputs and outputs. I don't know if I wrote this one. It sounds kind of Benjamin Franklin-y. But maybe I did, because I'm a super smart guy. Okay. Okay. I think this one is very important we'll start with relationships. And I see it all the time. There's your high school lovebirds, and all they do is hang out with each other, and it's just him and her and him, and that's all they do. And in order to get to that point where it's just them two, they've kind of kicked out their friend group, and they don't really speak to anybody else besides that guy or girl. And obviously that's an extreme. You're not balancing your life. That's not moderation. You're putting so much time and energy into one person when you're better off being a well-rounded individual surrounded by multiple people rather than just one. Because we all know high school relationships usually end. And I'm getting kind of specific here. I'm just saying this is just kind of what I've seen. And then it ends, and then that person doesn't really have anybody else to go to because they just put all their energy into all their time, energy, whatever, into this one person, which is pretty extreme. Also, within moderation, I would say the younger crowd in maybe you're old as well that needs to hear this. Maybe everybody needs to hear this. Partiers out there. This is a big one. If you're an extreme partier, that's all you do day and night. I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong, but possibly, you may want to balance your life a bit more. You may need to inspire some moderation and do something else with your time. The partying scene, from my limited knowledge, once again, it'll burn you out. And you'll party for maybe 6 months. You'll be going strong. Maybe it's a year. You've been partying for a year, and it's been amazing. You've met so many people. It's awesome. Maybe you've been partying for 5 years straight, Party every night, 5 years. Oh, it's awesome. But you'll get burnout. And eventually you'll look at yourself and say, wow, is this really the person I want to be? Do I want to be the person that really gets nothing done, hungover the next day, all day, don't know anything else besides the party, besides the drinks, besides the drugs? And I would say that's where moderation is key, and you got to avoid that extreme. Do something else. Don't get burnout. You'll get burnout in both these scenarios. You'll get burnout partying. You'll get burnout from that one person you put all your time and energy into. So moderation. Avoid these extremes. These are not the only extremes, just the two that come to my mind based off my life. So it looks like I skipped one here, and this one was attentive. And I know I added this one myself. I wrote, give others or the task at hand your full effort, eyes, and ears to reap the most benefits. Maximum effort. I love this one because I just think it's so important to put all your energy into one task at one time. To me, what comes to my mind is academics. When I'm studying, I have to be studying. I can't be scrolling on Instagram, Snapchat. I can't be talking to somebody on FaceTime. I have to be at this one task, or the studying just will not be beneficial because it's not getting in the brain. It's not soaking up, absorbing everything. And that's kind of like you talking to somebody else as well. You have to give the person you're talking to maximum attention and maximum effort, or you won't understand, what they're saying, what they're trying to get across. You'll misinterpret their words and ideas, and that's where I think listening comes in. Is this attentive one that I created? Is you got to listen, and you got to listen well. And I'm the first person that I would say is bad at this, because I just get so overstimulated sometimes. And when there's a lot of things going on, a lot of conversations flying, I just kind of freak out. And I'm just like, I cannot pay attention to this one person talking to me. Specifically, this is at like party settings. And there's like so much going on. People talking, yelling, saying my name. And I'm just like, what is going on? And this person's trying to talk to me. about their new gym shoes they got. I really don't care, but like I want to care, but I can't care because of all these people talking. And that's kind of why I've had a preference. I have a preference now for smaller groups and smaller discussion, because that's when I can really use this attentive commandment and listen to somebody and understand what they're saying. And that's where I formed my most deep connections, is in those small groups when I really understand what somebody is saying. Because half the time when someone's talking, I don't even have that connection with them, because there's just a lot of people talking, a lot of stuff going on that I don't understand what they're getting at, and I can't connect with them on that level. So attentive, giving those things around you all your energy, all your time, instead of splitting it up multiple ways, is the 8th commandment, I think. Next one here is cleanliness. It says, tolerate no uncleanliness in body, clothes, or habitation. And this one just makes me laugh. I did not write this. This was Mr. Franklin himself, the old geezer. I just think this one's funny, just because he said, or habitation. It was like, this is like a must. You must stay clean. And I just kept this one in here. I don't know. I kept it in here because I think it is. It's important to stay clean. You know, you're not gonna get a partner if you smell like shit. I'm not saying like post workout smell bad, but like if you just constantly reek and you constantly your feet stink, your butt stinks, you're not getting any friends, you're not getting a chick, you're not getting a man. So no one really wants to speak to someone that just, they stink. And the next one here is tranquility. And what a beautiful word. Be not disturbed at, it says here, be not disturbed at trifles or at accidents common or unavoidable. And I think mastering this will lead to peace of mind. If you can just focus on what is happening in your life and ignoring the extrinsic, unavoidable stuff that happens outside of your persona, and you're just completely at ease with your own thoughts and nothing else permeates your little bubble, that's when you'll really be at peace with yourself and who you are. I just think realizing that there are events and things that will happen that you, your neighbor, you couldn't help it. And this doesn't mean you just blow it off and say, hey, that didn't involve me, I'm just going to move along my day. No, but this does mean that it shouldn't impact your day-to-day life. And you should be at peace with what's happening and what's occurring that's beyond yourself. Because you know, at the end of the day, I'm not the one who did that. I'm not the one that contributed to that. All I can take care of is what I do, what I say, and that's all I can do at the end of the day. So as long as you know yourself, that you're acting in a noble way, you know that you've done your side, then don't let these events impact you on a day-to-day basis. They can impact you, but they shouldn't rule your life. And this one, I'm going to get a little edgy here. Politics, possibly. I've seen it. Someone's life is just so centered on politics. And it's just every like new political news headline is just ruining their day. Oh my, this new trade barrier, this new tariff tax, shit, my day is ruined. I'm going to complain to everybody I know. It's a tragedy. Everybody's got to know my day. This is the worst day I've ever been having. No, do not act like that. realize that you didn't have any control of this. You maybe had a little tiny control when you voted in the last election or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. That doesn't matter. This happened at such a large scale that your one little persona had nothing to do with it. Cognize it, realize it. Okay, that happened. Move on. It's outside of my control. It's outside of my realm. Move on. Maybe if it really is that big of a deal, get yourself into politics so you can be the one that makes those calls. So that's my little example for tranquility. Next one. So the next one here is humility. And I wrote, be true to yourself internally and externally. Jesus, that's so broad. I probably should have narrowed that one up a bit. Be true to yourself internally and externally. What the hell does that even mean? I think this is what I meant. So internally would be following your convictions and following what you believe to be right, and listen to the voice that's telling you, that conscience that's telling you, yeah, this is right, this is wrong. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. Don't do it. Listen to yourself internally. Listen to your thoughts. If you need to, write it out. Make it explicit. Whatever's going on in here, put it down. You'll know what's going on. And then when you talk to other people, stay true to these. Once again, it kind of goes back to your moral and ethical code. Follow it. You mean it, so follow it. And externally, then I would say, is kind of what I said back right just now, was actually exemplifying it outwardly. You think it internally, so express it outwardly. And just being true to yourself and following what's going on inside you and mimicking that on the outside, that's going to kind of bridge your persona together. That's when the humility will be inspired, and you'll be acting in a way that is true to yourself. So once again, I would just say this ultimately comes from slowing down your thought process and thinking before you speak or act, which I have said multiple times throughout this, which seems to be a whole theme of this podcast. And I guess I'm just saying that multiple times because I know it to be the most true in my life. The best things I've done have come when I think slow and be the person that I want to be. Last one here, number 13. This one is enjoy. I wrote this one as well. Enjoy the people and activities you pour your time into. Making an impact is much easier when it is something/someone you care about. Not to compare all these commandments again, but I personally think this one may be the most important. I think it's most important because what really matters at the end of the day is that you're enjoying yourself and you're enjoying your time, as long as you're not hurting or inhibiting someone else's life. I will add that in there. So like I was going back on that, the person that lives, eats McDonald's every day, calls their ex-girlfriend for half the day, spends their time gambling. Who am I to judge? Maybe that really is the life, and they enjoy that day in and day out. So who am I to say that is necessarily wrong? But I would say for most people, those sorts of activities won't get you to be the person that you want to be. So partake in activities and hang around people you enjoy. Once again, easier said than done. But you can actively search for these people. You can actively search for activities that you enjoy. And that's when fulfillment will come, because you've surrounded yourself with all these people, all these activities that you truly like to do. This kind of relates back to, I think a few episodes ago, I was talking about the noble goal and setting the noble goal and attacking it. And I wrote here, making an impact is much easier when it is something/someone you care about. Maybe your noble goal is, we'll throw out a great one out there, curing cancer. And you're going to do it. you're going to be the one. Maybe you cure a specific type of cancer with a new medication. If that's your noble goal, make sure it's something you truly care about. If you don't enjoy medicine, you don't enjoy science, that's not going to be very enjoyable. So this enjoyment that I speak of is going to be found from stuff that you really enjoy. And that comes from, again, internally searching for what you enjoy to do, when have your most fun times come from, who have they been with, and then maximizing those moments and times that you do those. We just hit 13 of the the 13 life commandments. And I'll list them off once again. Silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, attentive sounds weird, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, humility, and enjoy. Those 13 I just highlighted were inspired by Mr. Benjamin Franklin. Again, I cannot take complete credit, but I wrote them down on April 4th of 2021, and they have obviously guided me in great ways and will continue to do so. So I hope you guys all enjoyed those 13 personal commandments, and I'm going to end here with a book suggestion and a movie suggestion. So let's see here. The book I wanted to suggest is called Undaunted Courage, and this is a nonfiction history book written by Stephen Ambrose. He's a pretty famous nonfiction history writer. My grandpa actually gifted me this book. He's an avid reader himself. He's a big history geek. He can maybe check out what I had to say about Benjamin Franklin, see if it was authentic or not. But yeah, Undaunted Courage. It's about Lewis and Clark, their expedition in the late 1700s. Thomas Jefferson granted them the permission to take this journey, and this eventually led to the Louisiana Purchase. Or wait, was the Louisiana Purchase before? I don't know. No. God damn it. I don't know if the Louisiana Purchase was after or before their expedition, but besides the point, I learned a lot about Lewis and Clark and how awesome their journey was. It just details all the plants they found and the new species of animals they found and all the issues they had with crossing rivers. And it all stems from their journal entries that were dug up years later and personal accounts, including a lot from Mr. Thomas Jefferson, who also seemed like a very cool dude. So I would give this a read. Even if you aren't into nonfiction history, it's a really cool just journey book, But Lewis and Clark were the first to see parts of these world, and from their perspective, this would have been just insane. So I would read this book. It's a nice little journey book. Makes you kind of just want to see the world, travel, and love this book. And I'm super glad my grandpa gifted it to me. Lastly here, I'm going to suggest one movie. It is 2001, A Space Odyssey. This movie was made in the 60s, and I love it. If I'm being honest, it took me a little bit of reflection and YouTube searching to understand the themes of this movie because it aims so high. But after I did that and kind of understood it a bit more, I have a great appreciation for the movie, and I would suggest it to anybody. It's not all about space either. There's a lot of scenes. Most of the scenes take place on planet Earth, actually. It's a movie that you can kind of build your own perspective and interpretation on. That's why I love it so much, and that's why I'm not really going to dive into my own perspective when you can go out and watch it yourself. That is going to wrap it up. I gave my 13 life commandments. I hope you enjoyed them. Once again, I am not the pinnacle of awesomeness. I do not follow these 13 life commandments on a day-to-day basis. I break damn near every one of them, including cleanliness on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So I just kind of want to give these to you guys because these have helped me become a little bit of a better person week by week, month by month, hopefully year by year. So that'll be it for today on the 13 Life Commandments. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Stoic Sapling podcast, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. This podcast will be coming out every 1st and 16th of each month. You can find me at the Stoic Sapling podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I'll catch you guys on the next one.